Good morning, Year 9. So today's lesson is going to be on warming up and cooling down. Before you begin, make sure you have a pen and something to write on, like your book or a piece of paper. You're going to need to access the Google Drive, which I'll post a link on in the frog page. And on the drive, you need to show you what resources you're going to need today. So you're going to need to download this resource here, which is the psychological and physiological benefits of a warm-up sheet. It's blank for you to add on your own notes, as well as the same one for a cool down. Okay, so make sure you download those before you start this lesson. And you'll also find the PowerPoint here as well, and some questions on the end on this topic. Okay, so before we start on today's lesson, which is about warming up and cooling down, I just want to recap the previous lesson, because it was quite a difficult lesson, on methods of training. Okay, now I posted the video, PowerPoint with me talking over it onto the frog page. Hopefully you all saw that. If you didn't, then go back to last week's page and have a look at that, because you need to understand that topic before you can move on. Now, I set you some tasks to do. You had to complete this worksheet here, where you had to look and listen to the PowerPoint and make your own notes on the 6 different methods of training. So thank you to those students who have sent me that work. That's great. And if you haven't done that, make sure you have done that, please, and then email me to show me. I also asked you to do this sheet here as well. So I asked you to look at the different components of fitness, both health-related and skill-related, and then I asked you to tell me which method of training would be the best method of training in order to improve that component of fitness. Now, you can write more than one, because obviously there are more than one method of training that you can use to improve that component, but there tends to be one particular method which is better than others. So you should have at least one, but you can have more than one if you want. So I'm just going to show you the answers to this sheet. That's not it. That's me doing some holiday planning. Okay, here we go. Okay, so right, so if you have a little look at this, this is what hopefully yours should look like. You can disagree with me. It is a little bit subjective, but well, we'll go through them. So cardiovascular endurance, obviously we know that cardiovascular endurance is when we exercise our entire body for long periods of time using all our internal systems like our lungs and our heart, okay? So I think the best method of training, if we were going to train for this component, would be continuous training, because we need to exercise for a long period of time without any rest. Okay, so you should have written continuous training for that. You can also have fartlek training, because as we know, fartlek training is when we have lots of changes in speed, and that can improve your endurance as well, okay, if you're doing that for a long period of time. Okay, moving on. So power. The best method of training to improve power is plyometric training. Okay, now plyometric training, as we talked about last time, it involves lots of sort of jumping movements, things like squats, box jumps. It's really explosive strength. Okay, so over time, this is a greater force is created because our muscles are continuously contracting. It's a really fast, powerful movement. So that improves our power. If we do lots and lots of plyometric training, lots of box jumps, lots of squats, then we are going to become more powerful. So the best method of training is plyometric training. But however, you can also use weight training to improve power as well. But a more effective method is plyometric training. Speed. So if you want to improve your speed, you should be using high intensity interval training. Okay, now we know that that is when we exercise at a really hard intensity, but just for a short period of time, and then we have a rest. So if you think of a 100-meter race or a 200-meter race, you're going flat out, but for a very short amount of time, and then you get to rest afterwards. So your training method should be linked to your event. Okay. So speed, we're aiming to be working at our maximum. So then we need to have a rest, because we can't sustain that for a long period of time. You can also use fartlek training to improve speed as well, because fartlek training involves lots of different speeds. So you might be sprinting for a period of time, so therefore it can improve your speed as well. And then you get to walk for a period of time or jog, so that is your sort of rest time. So either of those methods, but high intensity interval training or HIIT training is probably the best method for speed. For flexibility, you want to be using circuit training. Now, if you look at the other methods of training, none really apply as much as circuit training for flexibility. I mean, really, you would be using things like yoga as well to improve your flexibility, but that can be done in a circuit as well. If you think about it, you're doing lots of different activities with short rest in between, and then you can repeat those activities. So that's very similar to yoga. Muscular endurance, okay, we're going to be using weight training to improve muscular endurance. That's probably the best method that you could use. You would be doing a low weight. If you were looking to improve endurance, it would be a low weight, but you'd be doing lots and lots of reps, okay? So you're going to be lifting it lots of times, but at a low weight. That's what's going to improve our endurance. If you want to improve your muscular strength, you would still use weight training, but you would have quite a heavy weight and you would do less reps, less repetitions. Okay, now if you look at the skill related, they all have something in common, and that is because for skill related components, things actually help our performance. The best method of training is actually circuit training for all of them, but you could also use fartlek training if you wanted it to improve your reaction time as well, okay? Because when you're obviously using fartlek training, you're going from sprinting to jogging to walking. That could be a reaction aspect to it. You could be blowing a whistle and then they change speed on the whistle, okay? However, the best method of training for skill-related components tends to be circuit training, and that's because you can change the stations and you can change how long you do them for. So therefore, we can see a strength of circuit training already. It's good for any sports where we have sort of skill-related components. If we're looking at health-related components, then we look more to the other methods of training. Okay. Hopefully that helps you with that, okay? You do need to know which method of training is better for what component. Now, normally, if we'd been in class right now, we would have done all of these methods of training in practical, so you'd gain a better understanding of how to do each training method. But you'll play sport outside of school, so hopefully you've done some of these methods before. I know with me in class, we've definitely done circuit training. You wouldn't have done weight training unless you've been to a gym, but I think you're a bit too young for that. Fartlek training is quite a specific method of training. I'm not sure if many of you have done that one. Continuous training we've done at school through cross country. Plyometric training again is quite specific, probably wouldn't have done that one. And high intensity interval training, HIIT training, you should be doing that now on your Wednesdays, because a lot of the work I'm setting you is high intensity workouts, and then you have like a period of rest afterwards. So try to get as much experience as you can with these methods of training, because it just means you'll understand them a bit better. Okay. So let's start today's lesson then. Okay, our objectives today are to understand the physiological and psychological, two big words that are very similar, so let's understand those. They're different reasons why we do a warm-up and a cool-down, basically. So physiological, you should know this already, is to do with our body, okay? So these are benefits to our body, okay? And psychological is to do with your brain, your mind, so benefits to our mind, okay? That could be feelings as well, because our feelings are, they're in our head, okay, how we feel. Our second objective is to explain the various phases that happen within a warm-up and a cool-down, and hopefully you'll be able to describe each of those phases as well, not just where it says explain. So explain the phases, not just identify them. And you should be able to create your own warm-up and cool-down for a specific activity. So you guys are going to be awesome at this, because in our practical lessons, you are brilliant at getting on with your own warm-ups, the St. George warm-up. And so I know this is going to be a really easy topic for most of you. Okay, look at the starter. So the following pictures, so bottom left, all linked to a principle of training. Ooh, okay, hang on. So this picture here on the right-hand side, all of these, each picture is a different method of training. So you've got to see if you can guess it just from the picture. Okay, so each picture is a different method of training. See if you can figure that out. And then these pictures here all have something in common that you have already studied. Okay. Oh, sorry, I've said that wrong. These are methods of training, not principles. This is a principle of training, or principles of training. This is a method of training. So remember, principles are rules that we follow when we train. How can we make sure that our training is meeting the needs of our activity or us as individuals? And this is a method of training, so how we actually train. These are the rules that we use to help us train. Can you figure this out? Okay, so this one is fartlek training. This one is cross training. Okay, cross training. Now, actually, that's not fair because we haven't studied that one. So cross training is when you use different methods. Okay, so it's when you use different methods. So I'm sure you've done this before with your sports. Footballers, for example, they do weight training in the gym as well as maybe circuit training in their training session. So they use two different methods. So they are cross training because they're using more than one method. Sorry, that was a bit unfair, that one. This one here is circuit training. And this one here, as I've just said, is weight training. So well done if you got those three. Then moving on to this one, what do these pictures all have in common? So we've got someone typing on a keyboard. We've got a clock. And then we've got 3 words here. So hopefully you've got some of the easy ones. So this one here is type. This one is time. What do they have in common? What could this one be? It's going high and low. This is frequency. So frequency, time, type, and then that should help you with this last one. In. This is a tense because we've got future tense, past tense, and present tense. So intense, and then this is London, which is a city. So intensity. There we go, intensity. So these are all the FIT principles, if you remember. Frequency, intensity, time, and type. They are the principles of FIT. Okay, good. Hopefully that's got your brain going a little bit. Okay, on the worksheet I said that you needed, I want you to, it says small groups. You can do this with your parents or with your siblings if they can help you. Write down as many benefits of a warm-up as you can. Okay, so why do we do a warm-up? What are the benefits to us? See if you can break it down into psychological and physiological benefits. So what are the benefits to our body and what are the benefits to our mind? Okay, see if you can write that down next to the people. Pause the video, give yourself 3 minutes to do that, and then unpause it again and we'll go through the answers. Okay, so benefits of a warm-up then. Let's look at the physiological ones first. So the benefits to our body. The benefits are that it raises our body temperature. Okay. So if the muscles are warm, they're less likely, to get injured. Okay, so they've got lots of blood in them. They're nice and warm. That means they're a little bit more elastic. So they're a little bit more bendy and flexible. They're less likely to get injured. It increases our heart rate, which then helps that blood to get around to the muscles because obviously their heart pumps the blood. So we've got more blood getting to the muscles. Like I just said, that raising body temperature means the muscles are more stretchy. Okay, we've got an increased blood flow, which means we have an increase in oxygen because oxygen is inside the blood. Okay, this gets our joints moving and increases our range of motion. So we start to get more flexible because we're starting to move the joints prior to the exercise. And another benefit is that we get to go through the skills that we might be doing in a game prior to doing it. So we get a little bit more practice. So psychological then, what are the benefits to our mind? It allows your mind to rehearse any skills, scenarios, or tactics that you might have gone over in training. This is also mental rehearsal. So you're preparing in your head what might happen in the game. It allows you to control your motivation levels and your arousal levels. Now, we haven't talked about what this is yet, but we will be talking about it soon. But essentially, it allows you to calm down before a game and make sure you're at your peak level. So you're really ready for the game, you're excited, but you're not overly excited or you're not overly nervous. It allows you to focus and concentrate on what's about to happen. And it improves your feeling of being ready. Okay, sometimes if we don't do a warm-up and we just got thrown into the game, it's psychological rather than physiological. We don't feel ready for what we're about to do. Okay, so they are the benefits of a warm-up. This is why we ask you to warm up prior to exercise. So you can colour your people in, you can give them faces, you can give them clothes, you can just draw arrows, it's up to you. But yes, that needs to be stuck in your book or kept in a safe place. Okay, so our second learning objective, other than understanding the physiological and psychological reasons that we warm up, is to explain the different phases that are involved in a warm up and a cool down. So you should know this already, but within a warm up, there are 3 phases. You have a pulse raiser, and this is where your heart rate is increased, which what we talked about why that's important, because it sends oxygen around to the muscles that need it, which then increases the body temperature and makes the muscles a little bit more stretchy, so they're less likely to get injured. Okay, so that's the pulse raiser. That should happen at the beginning. Now you can see here, these guys, they're doing some jogging. Okay, so it could be some running. Okay, something that raises your heart. It could be star jumps. It's anything that gets your heart rate pumping. The second phase is to do some dynamic stretches, and you should do your warm up in this order, by the way. Okay, so it goes in this order. You run first, you increase your heart rate, and then you do your stretches. So dynamic stretches. Dynamic means on the move. Okay, you have static and dynamic. So dynamic is on the move. These are controlled movements that take the limbs to the limit of their range of motion, engages the muscles to increase flexibility to avoid injury. Okay, so we're doing some dynamic moving stretches to get the muscle to go to its full limit and then back again, and keep doing that till we gradually stretch the muscle so that when we're in a game and we're going at full intensity, the muscle isn't going to be overstretched suddenly. Okay. These can be things like lunges, toe touches. We do chicken scoops in class, which everyone struggles with. What else have we got? Squats, butt kicks, high knees, you know all of the ones, arm circles. There's lots of different dynamic stretches, okay? Okay, the third and final phase of a warm-up is called skill familiarization, big word. And that essentially just means you're getting yourself familiarized to the skills that you are about to do in the game. Okay, so you're practicing any skills you are about to do. So if you're a netball player, you would do some netball passes prior to a game. If you're a basketballer, you might grab a basketball, do some layups, do some dribbling. Rugby player, you'll throw the rugby ball around just to get your body used to in the motion of those skills that you are about to do. Okay, so you imitate, which means copy, actions ready for the activity. Prepare mentally in the surroundings. So this aspect of the warm-up would normally be done where you are about to play your game, okay, or do your training session. As you can see, you would be on a basketball court or you would be on the rugby pitch, all right? Okay, let's have a look at this little clip then. Okay, so this is a netball warm-up, and I want you to identify the 3 phases of the warm-up. So here you've got the pulse raiser. They're starting with some jogging. From 1981 to 1983, and the Confederation of Australian Sport from 1986. 2 different teams here. One team's doing it all together, one team are a little bit more staggered. This section of the warm-up, guys, it needs to go on long enough to actually get your heart rate pumping. Okay, so it can't just be a quick 30 seconds, it needs to be a few minutes worth of jogging or running. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you all to stand and applaud the incredible life on degree highlighters who passed away. Okay, now what are they starting to do? Very dodgy filming, a bit wobbly. Okay, they're doing the chicken scoops that I was talking about earlier. So one leg straight, one leg bent, trying to scoop the ground. But they're moving, so they're not standing still and stretching, they're taking their body through the full range of motion. Oh, that's a new one. We've not done that one before. Can steal some of these when we come back to school. So these are like side lunges. Got a few squats in there as well. Let's move it on a little bit. Oh, there's a new one for you. Okay. So still stretching. You can see this goes on for some time. So they're practicing some of the movements that they would do in a game. Very agile netball players have to change direction very quickly, have to be speedy on their toes. Okay, now we have the third and final section of the warm-up. This is the skill familiarisation. So they've got a ball, they're in the environment which they would be doing their match or their training, and they're just starting to practice some of the skills that they're going to use. So obviously they're passing. Okay, they will probably do this for at least 5 minutes, sometimes longer. As you can see.
Well, you can adjust it while you're filming it. It's not working.
Now they've changed it again. They're doing different movements, practicing some set plays, any tactics they've come up with prior to the game. Okay, you can see this warm-up goes on. We're on 13 minutes here. Okay, so a warm-up, this is a key part of your notes that you need to have written down. A warm-up lasts up to about 15 minutes, okay, between 10 and 15 minutes. So each section should be around, well, you'd maybe have 3 to 5 minutes of a pulse raiser, then maybe another 3 to 5 minutes of stretching, and then the rest would be your skill familiarisation. Okay, so about 15 minutes. You can just do 5, 5, 5, but normally you'd spend a bit longer than 5 minutes on skill familiarisation. Okay, so the 3 phases of a warm-up. You need to be able to explain these. Okay, so you can't just give me the name of the bit in blue. You have to tell me what each stage involves. So practice writing that or saying it verbally to your parents, describe it to someone. If you can't do that, then you know you haven't learned it correctly, so you need to go back and revise it again. Okay, you should easily be able to describe to me what's involved in each stage and give me examples. So for example, in a pulse raiser, you would say jogging or star jumps, something that's going to increase your cardio, okay, cycling. Dynamic stretches, give me an example of a dynamic stretch. Say a lunge, tell me a squat. Skill familiarisation, give me an example, passing a basketball, dribbling, shooting, okay? Okay, so that's all you need to know for a warm-up. Nice and simple. You just need to know the 3 phases and the benefits. Now we do the same for a cool-down. So there are benefits of a cool-down. Physiological, so to our body, and psychological to our mind. Why do we do a cool down at the end of an activity? Now, this one I think you're going to be less familiar with because at school we don't often have time to do a cool down. Sometimes, but not always. So we do this a lot less than we do a warm up. So do you know the benefits of doing a cool down? If we do have time, we should always do it. But why? Why is it beneficial for us to do a cool down? So pause the video, see how many you can write down yourself without cheating, and then play it again and we'll go through the answers and see how many you got correct. Okay, try to test yourself, give yourself 3 minutes to do this. How many benefits can you think of doing a cool down, so at the end of an activity? Okay, so let's go through the answers then, see how many of these you got correct. So physiological first, the reasons we do a cool down, the benefits are that it helps to reduce oxygen debt. Okay, now I'm not sure if we've talked about this yet, but an oxygen debt can build up in our muscles. It's when we have to work very quickly all of a sudden. Okay, so it's like a sprinting action. We have to sprint and we haven't necessarily had time to get that oxygen in and delivered to the muscles. So we build up an oxygen debt. Okay, so we work really hard, but then we're really out of breath at the end of it. So we take big, deep breaths in order to get that oxygen back in that we need to our muscles. So by doing a cool down, it allows us to get that oxygen back in, okay? It removes something called lactic acid and any other waste products that are left in your muscles after you've done your game. So by stretching, we can actually break down and remove that lactic acid. Lactic acid is what makes your muscles sore. It allows our heart rate to go down nice and gradually, rather than just doing really intense exercise and then stopping suddenly. If we just do some light jogging or some stretching, it allows us to recover and bring our heart rate down slowly. And again, it stops our muscles from becoming sore and stiff, okay, either the next day or the day after that, because we've removed that lactic acid. Okay, that's the important bit here. So that's the main reason why people get up from a workout the next day or the day after and feel really stiff, is because they haven't done a cool down at the end of their activity. Psychological reasons then. It can allow our arousal levels to return to normal. So sometimes when you do sport or you have a game, you can become really pumped, really excited, okay, especially if the game's gone well, or sometimes if it's gone not so well, you can be really frustrated and angry at the end of a game. So by doing a cool down, it just allows us mentally to bring ourselves back to that calm state. And it also allows us to reflect on our performance, okay? We need that 5 minutes just to do some stretches and just think, oh, I can't believe I missed that shot, or I'm so proud of myself for doing that, and my team, we did really well. It just allows you to think about what's just happened and reflect on it. Oops. Okay, just 2 for that one. So nice and easy to remember. So it allows our arousal levels to return to normal, offers a chance for reflection, reduces lactic acid, and reduces muscle soreness and stiffness. They're the main ones here, okay? So make sure you've got all of those. Pause the video if you need to copy them down. You can draw arrows, make your poster exciting. And get someone to test you on this, okay? Say to someone, can you test me on the benefits of a warm-up and cool-down? All right? Okay. Okay, so the same as a warm-up, there are phases to a cool-down. Instead of being 3 phases, there are 2 phases of a cool-down. So the first phase is that you should do some light jogging or some walking, okay? So very similar to the warm-up, in where you have to raise your pulse. This is the opposite. Now we're trying to bring our pulse down. Okay, so we're just going to do some light jogging or walking. This also helps to remove waste products, get that lactic acid gone, decrease our body temperature, and start to get our heart rate to return gradually. Okay. Once we've done a couple of minutes of some walking or some light jogging, we then should be stretching. Okay, again, breaks down lactic acid, helps our muscles to relax, go back to its normal range of motion. These stretches should be static stretches, so you shouldn't be moving around, because remember, we're trying to lower our heart rate. Okay, and these static stretches tend to last a little bit longer than in your warm-up. So in your warm-up, you should know you hold a stretch for 8 to 10 seconds, but when you're cooling down, you should be stretching for up to 30 seconds. Okay. Okay, so can you tell me this back? Could you tell your parents about this? Could you detail the 2 different phases of a cool down? Could you give examples? All right, and if you can't, then you need to practice writing it down, practice saying it verbally, go over it again, do a bit of Google research if you haven't understood the way I've taught it to you. Okay, so our third and final lesson objective is to create a warm-up and cool-down for a specific physical activity. So I want you to plan your own warm-up and cool-down for any sport of your choice. You must include diagrams and a short bullet point description. Remember to include any safety points or coaching points, okay? So a warm-up should be 10 to 15 minutes long, and a cool-down 10 to 15 minutes. You can choose your sport, okay? And as well as having this in written form, if you can also do a video of you carrying out your warm-up or your cool-down, and it's really good, and you've done this written element as well, so you've paired it with this, then I will give you positive comments. Okay, so before you do your next workout next week, plan your warm-up, plan your cool-down, send me a video of you doing it, and along with it, this slide. Okay, or you can have it written in a different format if you want. But I need to know your 3 phases, what you're doing for each phase, with diagrams, okay, and description. Diagrams and description. Okay, now the final thing I want you to do today as part of the lesson, because it's quite a short lesson today, is to answer the exam questions, task 4 at the bottom here. Complete the exam questions that are on the Google Drive. I will attach them as an assignment on Frog as well as put them on the Frog page. So can you try now, please, to complete the 3 exam questions to see how well you have learned today's topic. Okay, guys. Now, we have actually finished this chapter now, which is chapter 7. Okay, I'm just checking in my textbook to make sure we have finished. Yes, we have. So what we're going to do now is over the Easter holidays, because you've got a nice little break now. Hopefully you're excited. I want to do some revision on this topic, because obviously this whole topic you've learnt from home, And that's not easy. So you should be proud of yourself, especially if you've been someone who's been really dedicated to doing all of the homework and all of the practical sessions. So well done. I'm really proud of you. So for this whole topic, please, chapter 7, go back on the Google Drive, or if you have a textbook, then you can refer to that. It's on page 126. After these holidays, I'm going to set you a very short test, okay, an online test. So I want you to revise this whole topic. I'll go through now what's going to be covered, and I'll put it on the frog page as well. So you need to make sure you understand all of the principles of training, all of the methods of training, and that you understand a warm up and cool down. Okay, so it's quite a small topic. So make sure you do lots and lots of revision, because it's not easy, this topic. Okay, so over these holidays, do a little bit of revision, and I'll set you a test when we come back. Okay, if you have any questions, I'm going to make myself available on a live Google Meet session at the end of our normal lesson time. Okay, I'll post the link on the frog page. Okay, guys, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you after these holidays. Bye.